Missouri. It's often called a great place to raise a family. Traditional values, a strong work ethic, and neighbors you consider your friends. About an hour north of Cape Girardeau lives an ordinary, hard-working farmer who raises cattle with his wife, sons, and grandchildren. It would be enough to just care for his own family. But this farmer cares passionately about other Missouri families as well. He works hard on his farm, but he also works hard in a place that might surprise you. His name is Kerry Messer, and he's been lobbying for pro-family issues at our state capitol for 25 years.
The first day I came to the Missouri State Capitol, I traveled with a van load of folks from my home church. Missouri in 1985 was looking at starting, changing public policy and allowing lottery gambling. I walked the halls of the Capitol with an older gentleman who had been here before, who was old enough to not be intimidated with anything. I, on the other hand, was intimidated with everything. And he taught me in that one day how lawmakers are just normal, average, everyday people. What impressed me the most the first day I came into the state capitol was how lawmakers were willing to sit down and stop what they were doing and have a one-on-one conversation. I realized from that first day that it is possible for one person to have an impact so long as they're dedicated and they put the effort into it.
I've never known a lobbyist who's willing to show up at the Capitol at 6 o'clock in the morning and stay there till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, if only to build relationships with legislators, to walk into an office after they've been exercising, they're in their shorts and t-shirt and they're continuing to work on some of the legislation in front of them, to sit down, ask them how their family's doing, ask them what's going on with their kids, to indicate to them that he cares about them just as much and sometimes more than he cares about the issues that he's asking them to work on together with him.
Well, Kerry becomes your friend first. In 1994, the first time I met him, I was a wife, I was a mother, and God was leading me to run for public office. And when my husband and I traveled over to Jefferson City to file for office and spend the day there, Kerry, he was with us the whole day, explaining to us exactly what was going on in the legislature, and was really an encouragement to me that day to pursue running for elective office.
For those of us from western Missouri, it's hard to imagine anybody close to St. Louis as being a country boy. It's, but certainly Kerry, it comes across as a hard-working man that has a focus on doing good things for the state of Missouri, and he can relate to legislators regardless of where they are in the state. And what I like about him, he's not in your face. Some people irritate, some lobbyists irritate you when they come to say, hey, can you do this or can you do that, or you're wrong or you're right. Kerry doesn't operate that way. He brings the facts. He's established consistency to where you know that he's believable, and then you sit up and take notice. Maybe we need to look at this.
One of the things that makes Kerry stand out is he has a big dose of humility, and that's rare in politics, as you can imagine. And people like that, and they trust him for that reason. He's not using an issue to push himself forward. He does things because he cares about them. And that validates you in politics. Even if you take a position that people really don't like at all, if they know it's because you really care about it, you're not just playing it to make yourself a big shot, then it gives you a tremendous amount of credibility. And I would say Kerry has a lot of credibility in Jefferson City.
When I served as a legislator, I really appreciated the value that Kerry offered to us. And when we were preparing to vote on legislation, he had a distinct ability to analyze the components of the legislation. And he helped us really understand just what the legislation was and how it supported our families or not. And it was just a very great help that he was to us.
One of the reasons to have pro-life advocates in the Capitol is to read the details. We in the legislature get tons of stuff going past us at a high rate of speed. On the surface it looks good, but the details are tough. I think one of the things that Kerry Messer does best is look at the details. If there's something that's troubling, maybe not immediate, but what it could lead to down the road, he'll bring that to us and say, hey, this needs cleaned up. Here's some language that would make it better or cleaner or safer.
Kerry is probably one of the most effective people when it comes to dealing with strategy on how we're going to get bills through the legislature. This is the capacity in which I know Kerry, and I am endlessly amazed at his ability to be able to identify exactly the person that needs to be talked to, what is the buttons that need to be pushed to kind of make sure that the issue that we're trying to get passed is going to be compelling to that person. Working out the ways in which they get the job done. There are many landmines when it comes to dealing in politics, and Kerry is able to navigate a minefield like no one I've ever met.
Kerry respects people, and he has empathy and understanding for where they're coming from, and this makes him tremendously effective, because he can go from an office of a state senator from St. Louis City to a committee chairman from Southwest Missouri to a freshman from the Boot Heel and talk about the same issue with them in different, honest, legitimate ways and be persuasive all 3 times. And that is very difficult. I mean, there are people in Jefferson City who are paid lobbyists who haven't figured that out. And Kerry knows how to do it. And again, it's at bottom because he likes people and he respects people, and that comes through.
I don't think there's anybody else in the building that knows the political part of it as well as Kerry does. During elections, he makes available to his folks who's on the right side through surveys, through other inside track. The important part of a legislature is electing good people, people that are aware of the issues, and he does a great job of identifying those people and trying to help them out.
Kerry Messer is absolutely essential to the conservative pro-family movement in Missouri. We appreciate him. He's a source of knowledge. He's a source of good strategy. And we especially are grateful for his persistence, perseverance all these years.
I think one of the most difficult jobs of a person in Kerry's position would be dealing with people that you know are going to disagree with you. The simple thing is not to go see them, just let them slide, but that's not Kerry's mode of operation. I think he feels like they have the right to know both sides of the issue, and the folks that are going to fight him most, he'll go talk to them. And I think that's really commendable because it is a tough part of that job. It's an information job, and but those are the toughest people to talk to.
Kerry gets angry at things he sees that are hurting people, but he doesn't get angry at people. And it comes through. And so he's able to deal constructively, even with people that he disagrees with. I have something I like to say about politics. I don't think there's ever an excuse for being ungracious. And I've never seen Kerry ungracious.
Most people assume this is a 8 to 5 job. During the legislative session, when the going gets tough, we're here till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning many times. A lobbyist like Kerry is of no value if you're not here, and Kerry is always here. When the lights are on, when the action's happening, whether it's committee meetings or the general session, he's here, and that's when you're effective. I think one of Kerry Messer's big advantages is he's got the big view of the pro-life issues, the pro-family issues. He's also willing and able, when forced to work with all the other pro-family advocates, to be a moderator of the group, a center part of that group that helps to bring issues, to identify those issues that we're going to work on, lay aside others, and try to win on an issue or two rather than lose on all issues.